Nothing like midnight bench pressing to deal with a cheating wife. The bar felt heavier tonight. 300 pounds of cold steel that somehow weighed less than the pit in my stomach. Sweat dripped onto the basement floor of our house as I pushed through another rep, muscles burning, mind racing. Ben Carrick, that's me. 38 years old, ex-hockey player turned contractor, married to a woman who thought she was too good for everything I built, including me. The notification pings from upstairs had been going off for an hour. Laura's phone lighting up like a Christmas tree with messages from TK. Real subtle, honey. Really fucking subtle. I racked the weights and grabbed my towel, listening to her heels click across the hardwood above. She was just getting home, at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. Benny? Her voice drifted down the stairs, sweet as poison. You down there, baby? Baby. Right. I hadn't been baby in months. More like the guy who pays the bills while I screw around with my personal trainer. I climbed the stairs, finding her in the kitchen, still in her little black dress and heels. Her makeup was smudged, lipstick gone, and she reeked of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. Nice perfume, I said, leaning against the doorframe. That Troy's cologne or just eau de betrayal? Laura froze, wine glass halfway to her lips. For a second I saw something flicker across her face. Fear, maybe, or just annoyance at getting caught. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice had that tight quality it got when she was lying. Troy Kemp, 6'2", all muscle, no brain, your personal trainer at Elite Fitness. Ring any bells? She set down the wine glass and turned to face me fully. That's when I saw it, that cold smile that used to make me think she was mysterious. Now it just made me want to throw up. You know what, Ben? Fine. Yes, I've been seeing someone from your precious gym. Someone who actually takes care of himself. Someone who doesn't smell like sawdust and beer all the time. The casual cruelty in her voice hit me like a slap. 3 years of marriage, and this was how she wanted to play it. He's much hotter than you, she continued, examining her nails like we were discussing the weather. Better in bed, too. Way better. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and set it on the counter between us. That's nice, Lara. Hope he likes STDs, because that's about all you're good for these days. Her eyes widened when she saw the phone. You're recording me? For my memoirs, I said, or court, whichever comes first. You bastard! She lunged for the phone, but I was quicker. Hockey reflexes die hard. Tell me more about Troy, I said, holding the phone out of reach. How long has this been going on? 3 months, she spat. 3 months of actually feeling like a woman again instead of some contractor's boring housewife. 3 months. I nodded, doing the math. Right around the time she started going to the gym 5 times a week. And you've been using our joint account to pay for your little spa sessions at the country club, haven't you? The color drained from her face. Bingo. That's my money too, she said weakly. Was, I corrected. Past tense. As of tomorrow morning, you're going to find out what financial independence really feels like. I pocketed the phone and headed for the door. Where are you going? She called after me. To make some phone calls. Don't wait up. The next morning, I was parked across from Elite Fitness at 6 a.m. sharp, coffee in hand, watching the early morning crowd filter in. Lara's BMW pulled up at 6:30, followed by Troy's ridiculous red Mustang. They didn't even try to hide it anymore, walking in together like they owned the place. I'd spent the sleepless hours between our kitchen confrontation and sunrise making arrangements. First call went to my buddy Marty, who ran security cameras for half the businesses in town. Second call went to Casey, the gym's front desk gossip queen who'd been feeding me information for weeks in exchange for cash. Third call went to the gym manager, Dave Kowalski, who owed me a favor from when I'd renovated his kitchen for cost. My phone buzzed. Text from Dave. It's done. Come in around 8 inches. At 8 sharp, I strolled into Elite Fitness like I owned the place. The gym was busy with the morning rush, lawyers and accountants sweating out their guilt before heading to air-conditioned offices. Dave was waiting by the front desk, holding a manila envelope. Ben, good to see you, man. Got that thing you asked for. I opened the envelope. Security camera stills, printed in glorious, high-definition color. Lara and Troy in the equipment room after hours. Lara and Troy in the massage room. Lara and Troy in places that definitely violated the gym's membership agreement. "Shame about their memberships," Dave said loudly enough for the morning crowd to hear. "Violation of the facilities use policy. Really disappointing behavior from people you'd expect better from." The gossip mill started churning immediately. I could see heads turning, phones coming out, whispered conversations starting. In a town this size, news traveled faster than wildfire. "What about Troy's employment?" I asked. "Terminated as of this morning. Can't have that kind of liability on staff." "Perfect." I shook Dave's hand and headed for the parking lot, where I had a perfect view of the front entrance. At 8:45, Lara and Troy came strolling out of the locker rooms, all smiles and post-workout glow. They made it exactly 3 steps before Dave intercepted them. I couldn't hear the conversation from my truck, but I didn't need to. Lara's face went from confusion to shock to rage in about 10 seconds. Troy started gesturing wildly, pointing back toward the gym, then at Dave, then at his car like he was thinking about making a run for it. Dave handed them each a piece of paper, official termination letters, I'd guess, and pointed toward the exit. The walk of shame was beautiful. Lara, in her designer workout gear, trying to maintain dignity while being escorted out like a common criminal. Troy, looking like someone had kicked his puppy, probably realizing his main source of income had just evaporated. The other gym members weren't even pretending not to stare. Phones were definitely out now, recording everything for posterity and social media. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey. "OMG, the drama. Everyone's talking about it." Lara looked like she wanted to die. I started my truck and pulled out of the parking lot, rolling down the window as I passed the happy couple standing by Troy's Mustang. "Morning, folks," I called out cheerfully. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Lara's glare could have melted steel. Troy looked like he wanted to say something but thought better of it. "Oh, and Lara," I added, "you might want to check your credit cards when you get home. I think there might be some issues with the accounts." I drove away whistling, watching them shrink in my rearview mirror. That was just the warm-up. The main event was still to come. By noon, my phone was blowing up with texts from friends, neighbors, and random acquaintances who'd heard about the gym incident. Small-town gossip moved like lightning, and Lara's public humiliation was apparently the most interesting thing to happen in months. Marty called around lunchtime. "Heard your wife got kicked out of the gym this morning? That you're doing?" "Can't imagine what you mean," I said innocently. "Right. Well, if you need any help with whatever you're not doing, you know where to find me." Marty had done time for assault when he was younger. Nothing serious, just a bar fight that got out of hand. But he'd learned some useful skills along the way. More importantly, he was loyal as a dog and hated cheaters almost as much as I did. "Actually," I said, "there might be something." "You still got connections at the DMV?" "Might do. What kind of connections do you need?" "The kind that might be interested in whether someone's been keeping up with their vehicle registration." Hypothetically, that's the kind of thing that could cause problems for someone with a flashy red Mustang. Hypothetically. I'll make some calls. I spent the afternoon at a job site, framing a house addition for a client, but my mind was elsewhere. Every swing of the hammer felt therapeutic, like I was building something while Lara's world was falling apart. Around 4, I got a text from my neighbor, Old Man Barlow. Retired cop, lived next door for 15 years, knew everything that happened on our street. "Saw your wife come home crying earlier. Everything okay?" I called him back. "Hey, Mr. Barlow, yeah, we're having some marital difficulties. Sorry to hear that, son. Anything I can help with?" "Actually, maybe." "You still got friends on the force?" "A few. Why?" "Just want to make sure everything I'm doing is legal. Don't want to cross any lines, if you know what I mean." There was a pause. "What kind of lines we talking about?" "The kind where a man protects his assets during a divorce. The kind where someone might need to document certain behaviors for court proceedings." Ah, another pause. "Well, Documenting things is always legal. Recording conversations in your own home is legal. Protecting your financial interests is legal. Just don't do anything stupid. Wouldn't dream of it. Good. And Ben, if you need someone to witness anything, or if anyone gives you trouble, you call me. I may be retired, but I still know how to handle problems. I thanked him and hung up, feeling better about my situation. Having a retired cop in your corner was like having an ace up your sleeve. Laura was waiting when I got home, pacing around the living room like a caged animal. Her eyes were red from crying, her hair was a mess, and she looked like she'd aged 5 years since morning. "You son of a bitch," she said the moment I walked in. "You got us kicked out of the gym. You got Troy fired." Did I? I set down my tool bag and grabbed a beer from the fridge. That's weird. I thought you got yourselves kicked out by violating the membership agreement. Don't play dumb with me. I know this was you. Prove it. I cracked open the beer and took a long drink. Besides, I thought you wanted independence. Well, congratulations. You're about to get more independence than you can handle. She followed me into the living room. What's that supposed to mean? Check your purse. She grabbed her designer handbag and started pulling out credit cards, trying each one on her phone. Her face went white as each one came back declined. You canceled my cards? Our cards, I corrected. And I didn't cancel them. I just had my name removed from accounts that were draining money to pay for your extracurricular activities. You can't do that. Already did. You want to play house with Troy? Great. You can pay your own bills while you do it. She sank onto the couch, staring at the useless plastic in her hands. Ben, please, we can work this out. No, we really can't. I sat across from her, enjoying my beer. See, I might have been able to forgive the cheating. Might have been able to work through the lies. But you made one crucial mistake. What? You underestimated me. You thought I was just some dumb contractor who'd sit quietly while you humiliated me. You thought I wouldn't fight back. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. You thought wrong. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey. Troy's been calling the gym all day trying to get his job back. Dave told him to lose his number. Also, everyone's talking about the photos. This is better than reality TV. I smiled, not bothering to hide it from Laura. You know what the best part is? This is just the beginning. The next morning, I met Jenna Rodriguez at a coffee shop downtown. Laura's work friend, junior account executive at the same PR firm, ambitious as hell and morally flexible when the price was right. I'd been cultivating her as an information source for weeks, ever since Casey first confirmed my suspicions about the affair. This feels weird, Ben, Jenna said, stirring her latte nervously. Laura's my friend. Laura's been calling you her useful little assistant behind your back for months, I replied, sliding an envelope across the table. But hey, friendship is priceless, right? She peeked inside the envelope, $500 in cash, more than she made in a week at her entry-level position. What exactly do you want to know? Everything. Where they've been meeting, what they've been saying about me, what other secrets my dear wife might be keeping. Jenna pocketed the money and leaned forward conspiratorially. They've been using the country club spa, every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, booking couples massages under your membership account. Laura's been bragging about it, saying you're too stupid to check the bills. My jaw clenched. The Riverside Country Club membership had cost me $15,000 to join, plus monthly fees that would choke a horse. I'd gotten it for business networking, to meet potential clients and maintain relationships with suppliers. Using it to cheat on me was like pissing on my grave. What else? She's been stealing from the club, Jenna whispered, taking bottles of wine from events, charging personal expenses to their corporate account. Her boss doesn't know yet, but the accountants are starting to ask questions. Interesting, very interesting. And Troy? He's been dealing steroids out of his apartment. Nothing major, just enough to supplement his income. But if someone reported it... She shrugged. I slid another $100 across the table. Keep the information coming. And Jenna, if anyone asks, we never had this conversation. She nodded eagerly and pocketed the second payment. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. After coffee, I drove to Marty's garage. He was under the hood of a Chevy, cursing at something involving the transmission, but he crawled out when he saw me coming. Got that information you wanted, he said, wiping his hands on a greasy rag. Your boy Troy's got some problems. Vehicle registration expired 6 months ago, no insurance, and he's behind on rent. Also, my DMV friend says there's been complaints about loud music and possible drug activity at his apartment complex. Complaints from who? Anonymous concerned citizens. Marty grinned. Amazing how many concerned citizens there are when you know who to call. I clapped him on the shoulder. You're a good friend, Marty. Haven't been a good friend yet, but I'm about to be. He led me to the back of the garage, where Troy's red Mustang sat like a wounded animal. The hood was up, parts scattered around it like surgical instruments. Brought it in this morning, Marty explained. Engine trouble. Real, mysterious engine trouble that's going to take weeks to diagnose and cost more money than he's got. I looked closer. The engine block had been partially disassembled, critical components sitting in neat piles. What kind of engine trouble? The kind where sugar got into the gas tank. Real shame. Probably happened while it was parked at the gym overnight. You know how these parking lots are. No security, anyone could wander through. That's terrible. Really unfortunate. Gets worse. Seems like someone also scratched cougar bait into the paint on both sides. Real deep scratches right down to the metal. Gonna need a complete repaint job. I walked around the car, admiring the damage. The scratches were artistic, really. Deep enough to require bodywork, but not quite criminal vandalism. More like an expensive prank. How much is all this going to cost him? Well, engine rebuild, new paint job, parts and labor. Marty scratched his chin thoughtfully. I'd say about $8,000, maybe more if we find additional problems during the inspection. And if he can't pay, then I guess I'll have to hold on to the car until he can. Mechanic's lien. Perfectly legal. My phone rang. Lara, probably wondering where I was. Hey, honey, I answered cheerfully. What's up? Where are you? Her voice was tight with stress. I need to talk to you. I'm at Marty's garage. Car trouble. What do you need to talk about? Just come home, please. I hung up and turned to Marty. I should go. My wife needs to discuss something important with me. Probably wants to apologize for being a cheating whore. Probably wants to blame me for her problems, but that's okay. I'm in a forgiving mood today. Laura was waiting in the living room when I got home, pacing again. She'd been crying. Her makeup was smeared and her eyes were puffy. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Ben, we need to stop this, she said before I was fully through the door. This has gone too far. What's gone too far? You know what? The gym thing, the credit cards, whatever you're planning next. People are talking. My friends won't return my calls. My boss is asking questions about my expense reports. I sat down heavily in my favorite chair, the leather recliner I'd bought with my first big construction bonus. Sounds like consequences, Lara. You remember consequences, right? That thing that happens when you make shitty choices? I made a mistake, okay? I admit it. But destroying my life isn't going to fix our marriage. Our marriage? I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. What marriage? The one where you respect me? The one where you're faithful? The one where you don't steal money to pay for your affairs? She flinched at the word steal. I never stole anything. The country club charges, Lara. Couples massages with your boyfriend, charged to my membership account. That's theft. That's different. No, it's really not. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey. OMG, Troy's car got vandalized. Someone wrote cougar bait on it and messed up the engine. He's freaking out, asking everyone if they know who did it. This is insane. I showed Lara the text. Looks like Troy's having a bad day too. Her face went white. You didn't. Didn't what? I've been working all day, then I went to Marty's garage. Lots of witnesses. Ben, please, just stop. I'll end it with Troy. I'll do whatever you want. Just please stop. I studied her face, looking for sincerity and finding only desperation. You know what I want, Lara? What? I want a divorce. I want you out of my house. I want my money back. And I want everyone in this town to know exactly what kind of person you really are. She started crying again, big theatrical sobs that might have worked on me 6 months ago. You don't mean that. I absolutely mean that. What about Troy? What about him? He's just some dumb kid who thought he could steal another man's wife without consequences. He's about to learn how wrong he was. I stood up and headed for the kitchen, leaving her sobbing on the couch. In the refrigerator, I found the ingredients for a sandwich: turkey, cheese, mustard. The good bread Lara always complained was too expensive. As I was eating, my phone rang. Unknown number. Ben Carrick? The voice was young, male, trying to sound tough. Speaking. This is Troy. We need to talk. Do we? About what? You know what? This shit you're pulling with Lara, with my car, with the gym. It ends now. I took another bite of sandwich, chewing slowly. Where are you calling from, Troy? That doesn't matter. What matters is, quote, are you at Murphy's bar? You sound like you're at Murphy's bar. Silence. I'll be right over. Murphy's bar was exactly the kind of place you'd expect to find an unemployed personal trainer drowning his sorrows. Dark wood, dim lighting, sports on every TV, and the lingering smell of spilled beer and broken dreams. Troy was sitting at the far end of the bar, nursing a whiskey and looking like someone had kicked his dog. He was bigger than me. I'd give him that. 6'2", maybe 220, all muscle and protein powder. But size wasn't everything, and he had the soft look of someone who'd never been in a real fight. Troy, I said, sliding onto the bar stool next to him. Thanks for calling. We definitely need to talk. He turned to face me, trying to look intimidating. You need to back off, old man. Old man? I signaled the bartender for a beer. That's funny. The old man is kicking your ass pretty thoroughly, don't you think? This isn't over. You're right. It's not. I took a sip of beer, studying his face in the mirror behind the bar. See, I was planning to take this slow, drag it out over a few weeks. But since you called, I figure we should accelerate the timeline. What's that supposed to mean? I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. Troy and Lara in the country club spa, her legs wrapped around his waist, both of them naked and going at it like animals. His face went red. Where did you get that? Security cameras are everywhere these days. Amazing what people don't notice when they're busy screwing other people's wives. You can't use that. It's illegal. Actually, it's not. The spa is a public accommodation, and you signed a waiver acknowledging the security cameras when you used my membership to book the room. I swiped to the next photo. This one's my favorite. Really captures the romance of the moment. Troy grabbed for the phone, but I was ready for him. Hockey reflexes, like I said. I pulled it back and stood up, putting some distance between us. Easy there, big guy. We're just having a conversation. Give me that phone. Or what? You'll beat me up? In front of all these witnesses? I gestured around the bar, where several patrons were now watching us with interest. That would be assault, Troy. And with your record, that would mean real jail time. His face went from red to white. What record? The steroid dealing. The unpaid debts. The complaints from your neighbors about noise and drug activity. I sat back down, taking another sip of beer. Did you really think I wouldn't do my homework? I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. But here's the thing. I don't actually care about your little side business. What I care about is you staying away from my wife. She doesn't want to stay away from me. She doesn't have a choice anymore. See, after these photos hit social media, after her boss finds out about the embezzlement, after the police get an anonymous tip about your pharmaceutical hobby, neither of you is going to have much choice about anything. I finished my beer and stood up. But I'm a reasonable man, Troy. I'm willing to make a deal. What kind of deal? You disappear. Leave town, find a new gym, start fresh somewhere else. Do that, and I'll forget about the photos, forget about the drugs, forget you ever existed. And if I don't? I smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Then you find out how creative I can get when someone steals from me. I left him sitting at the bar, staring into his whiskey like it held the answers to life's problems. Outside, I called Marty. "How's the car coming along?" "Funny thing about that," Marty said. "Turns out the damage is worse than we thought. Gonna need a whole new engine. Probably cost more than the car's worth." "That's a shame. Real shame. Oh, and Ben, you might want to check social media in about an hour. Casey mentioned something about posting some interesting photos she found." "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." By the time I got home, Lara was gone. Her car wasn't in the driveway, and most of her clothes were missing from the bedroom. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Gone to stay with my sister. We'll talk when you calm down." I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Calm down? I was calmer than I'd been in months. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I was in control. My phone buzzed with notifications from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Casey had been busy, posting the spa photos with captions like, "When you think nobody's watching," and "Some people have no shame." The comments were already pouring in. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, random acquaintances. Everyone had an opinion about Lara's extracurricular activities. Most of the opinions weren't very flattering. I poured myself a whiskey and sat in my leather chair, scrolling through the social media carnage. This was better than cable TV. But I wasn't done yet, not even close. The next morning brought a call from Dave at the gym. "Ben, you might want to get down here. We've got a situation." I found him in his office, looking frazzled. Through the window, I could see Troy pacing around the parking lot, gesticulating wildly at his phone. "He's been out there for an hour," Dave explained. "Demanding to talk to you, threatening to call the police, making a scene. I've had 3 members complain already." "What's he want?" "Says you have something that belongs to him. Says he's not leaving until you give it back." I looked out the window again. Troy had worked himself into a real state, red-faced, sweating, looking like he was about to have a stroke. "Did you call the cops?" "Thought I'd check with you first." "Don't. I'll handle it." I walked outside, hands in my pockets, casual as Sunday morning. Troy spotted me immediately and came charging over like an angry bull. "You son of a bitch!" he shouted. "You ruined everything!" "Good morning to you too, Troy. Beautiful day, isn't it? Don't play games with me. I want those photos deleted, now." "What photos?" "You know what photos?" He was practically foaming at the mouth. "The ones from the spa, the ones that crazy bitch Casey posted online." I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Facebook. "Oh, these photos? The ones with about 200 likes and 50 comments? Those photos? Delete them!" "Can't delete what I didn't post, buddy. Besides, once something's on the internet, it's pretty much there forever." He took a step closer, trying to use his size to intimidate me. "I'm not playing around here. Neither am I." I didn't back down, didn't flinch. "You want to dance, Troy? Right here in front of the gym? In front of all these witnesses?" He looked around, noticing for the first time that we had an audience. Gym members were watching from the windows, some recording with their phones. "This isn't over," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You're right. It's not." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "Because tonight I'm going to be at the Riverside Country Club, having dinner with the board of directors. We're going to discuss membership violations, security footage, and the proper consequences for people who abuse club privileges." His face went pale. "You can't." "Already scheduled. 7 o'clock, private dining room. They're very interested in seeing the evidence." I turned to walk away, then paused. "Oh, and Troy? You might want to check your apartment mailbox. I think your landlord left you something important." I left him standing in the parking lot, looking like someone had just told him his dog died. Inside the gym, Dave was waiting with a cup of coffee and a grin. "Eviction notice?" he asked. "Anonymous complaint about drug activity. Landlords required to investigate. Funny how these things work out." That afternoon, I met with my lawyer, Jim Patterson. We'd gone to high school together, played hockey on the same team, and he'd handled the legal work when I started my construction business. "Divorce is going to be messy," he said, reviewing the evidence I'd compiled. "But with this level of documentation, we should be able to protect most of your assets. What about the house? Premarital asset, your name only on the deed. She's got no claim to it. The business? Same thing. You started it before the marriage, kept it separate. She might get some alimony, but not much given the adultery. I leaned back in my chair, feeling better about my situation. What about the country club thing? Theft of services, probably a misdemeanor, but combined with the workplace embezzlement. He shrugged. Could be serious trouble. How serious? Depends on how much money we're talking about. Could be anything from probation to jail time. Perfect, absolutely perfect. That evening, I drove to the country club for my meeting with the board. The Riverside Country Club was old money, established families, the kind of place where reputation mattered more than anything else. Getting kicked out was social suicide. The board members were waiting in the private dining room, 5 men and 2 women, all over 50, all pillars of the community. I'd done construction work for 3 of them over the years. Ben, said Harold Whitman, the club president, thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Thank you for taking it seriously, Harold. He gestured to a laptop on the table. We've reviewed the security footage you provided. Very disturbing behavior. I was shocked, I said with just the right amount of hurt dignity, to think that my own wife would abuse our membership privileges this way. Completely unacceptable, agreed Margaret Chen, the vice president. This kind of behavior reflects poorly on all our members. We spent an hour going through the evidence, the board members getting more outraged with each photo and video clip. By the time we finished, they were ready to ban Lara and Troy from the property permanently. What about restitution? Asked Harold. I've calculated the unauthorized charges, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Spa services, dining, beverages, guest fees for Troy. Comes to about $3,000. We'll pursue collection immediately, said Margaret, and we'll be filing a police report for theft of services. I appreciate that. This has been very difficult for me personally. Of course it has. Harold patted my shoulder sympathetically. No man should have to endure this kind of betrayal. I left the country club feeling like I'd just won the lottery. $3,000 in restitution, criminal charges pending, and permanent banishment from the most exclusive social club in town. Lara's reputation was officially in the toilet. My phone rang as I was driving home. Unknown number again. What now, Troy? You bastard. His voice was slurred. He'd been drinking. You got me evicted. Did I? That's weird. I thought you got yourself evicted by dealing drugs out of your apartment. I never... Save it. Where are you calling from this time? Doesn't matter. What matters is you're going to pay for what you've done. Am I? How exactly? You'll see. The line went dead. I considered calling the police, but decided against it. Let him make the first move. I was ready for whatever he had planned. At home, I found Old Man Barlow waiting on my front porch, sitting in one of my lawn chairs like he owned the place. Evening, Ben. Mr. Barlow, what brings you by? Thought you might want to know. Someone was asking questions about you today. I sat down in the other chair. What kind of questions? Young fellow, big muscles, smelled like a brewery. Wanted to know your schedule, when you come and go, whether you live alone. What did you tell him? Told him to go fuck himself. Barlow smiled. Also told him I'd be keeping an eye on your place, and that I still had friends on the force who take a dim view of people who threaten their neighbors. Think he got the message? Oh, he got it, but he's drunk and stupid, which is a dangerous combination. You watch yourself, Ben. I will. Thanks for the heads up. Don't mention it. Oh, and Ben, that security system you installed last month, make sure it's working tonight. After Barlow left, I did a complete check of my security system. Motion sensors, door alarms, cameras covering every angle of the property. If Troy wanted to try something stupid, I'd have it all on video. I was settling in for the night when my phone buzzed with a text from Casey. OMG, Lara just called me crying. Says you're trying to destroy her life. I told her she should have thought about that before she started screwing around. This is so much drama. I texted back, any idea where she's staying? Her sister's place in Portland. But she's coming back tomorrow for some meeting with her boss. Word is they're going to fire her. Even better. I poured myself a whiskey and sat in my chair thinking about tomorrow. Lara fired, Troy evicted and broke, criminal charges pending for both of them. It was shaping up to be a very good week. Around midnight, the motion sensors went off. I checked the security cameras and saw a figure creeping around the side of my house, trying to stay in the shadows. Big guy, moving like he was drunk or injured. Troy, right on schedule. I watched him circle the house twice, testing doors and windows, looking for an easy way in. He was too drunk to notice the cameras, too stupid to realize he was being recorded. Finally, he settled on the basement window, the one I'd deliberately left unlocked. I called Barlow. He's here. Coming in through the basement. Police? Not yet. Let's see what he's planning first. I grabbed a baseball bat and positioned myself at the top of the basement stairs, camera phone ready. Troy was making enough noise to wake the dead, stumbling around in the dark, knocking over tools and cursing. He made it to the bottom of the stairs and started climbing, breathing hard from the effort. When he reached the top, I was waiting. Looking for something, Troy? He spun around, nearly losing his balance. In the dim light, I could see he was holding a crowbar. You son of a bitch, he slurred. You ruined my life. You ruined your own life, I just documented it. He raised the crowbar, swaying on his feet. I'm going to... You're going to what? Beat me up in my own house? With a crowbar? While I'm recording everything? I held up my phone, making sure he could see the screen. Say hi to the camera, Troy. This is going straight to the police. He looked at the phone, then at the crowbar in his hand, then back at me. Even drunk, he was smart enough to realize he'd walked into a trap. Delete the video, he said weakly. Not a chance. But I'll make you the same deal I offered before. Leave town and I won't press charges for breaking and entering. I can't leave town. I got nowhere to go. That's not my problem. He stood there swaying, trying to think through his limited options. Finally, he dropped the crowbar and sank onto the stairs. Why are you doing this to me? He asked. I never did anything to you. You slept with my wife, Troy. You helped her steal from me. You thought you could humiliate me without consequences. She said you didn't care about her anymore. She said you were getting divorced anyway. And you believed her? He shrugged helplessly. She's beautiful. She's smart. She said she loved me. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Lara doesn't love anyone but herself, Troy. You were just convenient. So what happens now? Now you leave. You walk out that door, you get in whatever car you're driving, and you disappear. If I see you again, if you contact Lara again, if you so much as drive past my house, I'll have you arrested. He nodded miserably and stood up. Can I get my stuff from the apartment? Talk to your landlord. But make it quick. I hear the police are planning a raid tomorrow. He stumbled back down the stairs and out through the basement window. I watched on the security cameras as he made his way to a beat-up Honda parked down the street and drove away. I called Barlow back. He's gone. For good? I think so. He's got bigger problems than me now. Good. Get some sleep, Ben. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. He was right. Tomorrow, Lara would face the music at work. Tomorrow, the police would execute their search warrant on Troy's apartment. Tomorrow, the whole town would be talking about the security footage from tonight. I poured myself another whiskey and sat in my chair, scrolling through the video I'd just recorded. Troy breaking into my house, threatening me with a crowbar, admitting to the affair. It was all there in high-definition clarity. This was better than I'd hoped, much better. But I still wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Lara's BMW pulled into our driveway at 10:30 the next morning, moving like a funeral procession. I watched from the kitchen window as she sat in the car for 5 minutes, gathering courage or maybe just postponing the inevitable. She looked like hell. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her hair unwashed, her face puffy from crying. The confident, cruel woman who'd confessed to her affair 3 days ago was gone, replaced by someone who looked defeated. I opened the front door before she could knock. Morning, Lara. How's unemployment treating you? She pushed past me into the house. I need to get some things. Of course you do. How did the meeting with your boss go? She turned to face me, eyes blazing with what was left of her anger. You know exactly how it went. You orchestrated the whole thing. Did I? That's weird. I thought you got yourself fired by embezzling company funds. I never embezzled anything. No? What about the client dinners that were really dates with Troy? The hotel rooms charged to company accounts? The expense reports for events that never happened? Her face went white. How do you know about all that? Simple. I asked the right people the right questions. Amazing what a little investigation turns up. I walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a manila folder. Police report from last night. Seems someone broke into my house with a crowbar, threatened me, then fled when confronted. Really disturbing stuff. I opened the folder and showed her the printed screenshots from my security footage. Troy climbing through the basement window, Troy with the crowbar, Troy's face clearly visible in every frame. He came here, she whispered. Around midnight, drunk, angry, looking for revenge. We had a nice chat about consequences and poor life choices. Is he okay? He's alive, if that's what you're asking. Can't say much for his future prospects, though. Breaking and entering, assault with a weapon, violating the terms of his eviction. He's looking at serious jail time. Lara sank onto the couch, staring at the photos. This has to stop, Ben. Please, we're both destroyed. Isn't that enough? I sat across from her, studying her face. The arrogance was gone, replaced by genuine fear. You know what's funny, Lara? Yesterday, you might have been right. Yesterday, I might have been satisfied with just ruining your careers and your reputations. What changed? Troy broke into my house. Troy threatened me with a weapon. Troy made this personal in a way that goes beyond adultery. He was drunk. He wasn't thinking clearly. Neither were you when you decided to cheat on me. But here we are. My phone buzzed with a text from Marty. Police raided Troy's apartment an hour ago. Found enough steroids to stock a pharmacy. He's going away for a long time. I showed Lara the text. Looks like your boyfriend's day just got worse. She started crying again, but these weren't the manipulative tears from before. These were the tears of someone whose world was genuinely falling apart. What do you want from me? She asked. I want you to pack your things and get out of my house. I want you to sign divorce papers that give me everything I'm entitled to, and I want you to disappear from my life forever. What about the criminal charges? What about them? You stole from the country club, you stole from your company, you violated our marriage vows. Actions have consequences, Lara. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I never meant for it to go this far. You never meant to get caught. That's not true, isn't it? You thought you were smarter than me, more sophisticated, more deserving. You thought I'd just sit there and take it while you humiliated me. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. You thought wrong. She spent the next hour packing her belongings while I watched from the kitchen, drinking coffee and scrolling through social media. The story was everywhere now. Local Facebook groups, Twitter, even the town newspaper's website. Local woman fired for embezzlement. Country club bans cheating couple. Personal trainer arrested in home invasion. Casey had been busy too, posting updates every few minutes like she was covering breaking news. Lara's packing her stuff and crying. Ben looks totally calm, like nothing happened. This is better than any soap opera. My phone rang. Jim Patterson, my lawyer. Ben, we need to talk. The prosecutor wants to meet about plea deals for both Lara and Troy. What kind of plea deals? For Lara, probably probation and restitution in exchange for guilty pleas on the theft charges. For Troy, maybe reduced charges if he cooperates and agrees to leave the state. What do you think? I think you've made your point. Dragging this through a trial won't get you anything except more legal fees. He was probably right, but I wasn't ready to let them off easy. Let me think about it. Don't think too long. The offer won't stay on the table forever. After Jim hung up, I walked upstairs to check on Lara's progress. She was in our bedroom, my bedroom now, folding clothes with mechanical precision. Find everything you need? I asked. Most of it. She didn't look up. Ben, about the plea deal. You heard that conversation? The prosecutor called me too. Probation, community service, $5,000 in restitution. It's more than fair. Is it? You know it is. She finally met my eyes. I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I don't deserve to go to prison. What do you deserve, Lara? I don't know, but not that. I watched her pack for a few more minutes, thinking. She was right. Prison would be overkill. She'd lost her job, her reputation, her marriage, her social standing. In a town this size, that was punishment enough. I'll consider the plea deal, I said finally, but I have conditions. What conditions? You leave town. Not just this house, this town. Find somewhere else to start over, somewhere far from here. Ben, that's the deal, Lara. Take it or take your chances with a jury. She nodded miserably. Okay, I'll leave. Good. Oh, and Lara, if you ever come back, if you ever contact me again, if you ever try to cause problems for me or my business, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are. I understand. I hope you do. That afternoon, I met Casey for coffee. She was practically vibrating with excitement, like a kid on Christmas morning. This is insane, she said, before I'd even sat down. Everyone's talking about it. You're like a celebrity. I'm not looking for fame, Casey. But you got it anyway. Do you know what people are saying about you? I can imagine. They're saying you're a hero. That you stood up to a cheating wife and her boyfriend like a real man. That you showed them what happens when you mess with the wrong person. I sipped my coffee thinking about that. And what do you think? I think you're scary as hell, she said with admiration. But in a good way. Like I would never want to be on your bad side, but I'm glad you're on mine. You helped make this possible, Casey. I won't forget that. What happens now? Now I get divorced, rebuild my life, and move on. What about Lara and Troy? What about them? They made their choices. Now they live with the consequences. Casey leaned forward conspiratorially. Word is Troy's going to prison for at least 2 years. The steroid thing was worse than anyone thought. That's unfortunate. Is it, though? I mean, he broke into your house with a crowbar. He could have killed you. She was right. Troy had crossed a line that went beyond adultery, beyond humiliation, beyond anything that could be forgiven or forgotten. He'd threatened my life in my own home, and now he'd pay the price. Justice is justice, I said simply. That evening, I got a call from Harold Whitman at the country club. Ben, I wanted to give you an update on the restitution situation. Good news, I hope. Very good news. Lara's agreed to pay the full $3,000 plus interest and penalties. Should be in your account by tomorrow. What about the criminal charges? Moving forward as planned. The prosecutor seems confident about conviction. Good. She needs to face consequences for what she did. Absolutely. Oh, and Ben, the board wanted me to extend an invitation to our annual charity golf tournament next month. After everything you've been through, we'd like to show our support. The charity golf tournament was the social event of the year, attended by every important person in town. Getting invited was like receiving a stamp of approval from the establishment. I'd be honored to attend. Excellent. We'll see you there. After Harold hung up, I walked out onto my back deck with a whiskey and looked out over the yard. My house, my life, all of it intact and secure. In 4 days, I'd gone from being a cuckolded husband to being the talk of the town, from victim to victor. My phone buzzed with a text from Old Man Barlow. Saw Lara loading up her car. Good riddance. You did the right thing, son. I texted back, thanks for all your help. Anytime, that's what neighbors are for. As the sun set, I thought about the last 4 days. The confrontation in the kitchen, the gym ban, the social media exposure, the break-in, the arrests. It had been a whirlwind of revenge, justice, and consequences. But most importantly, it had been effective. Lara was gone, disgraced and facing criminal charges. Troy was in jail, looking at years behind bars. Their affair was over, their reputations destroyed, their futures uncertain. And me? I was sitting on my deck in my house, drinking good whiskey and planning my next construction project. Sometimes justice looked exactly like revenge, and sometimes that was perfectly fine. Tomorrow I'd start the divorce proceedings. Tomorrow, I'd begin rebuilding my life without the weight of betrayal and humiliation dragging me down. Tomorrow, I'd be free. But tonight, I was just going to sit here and enjoy the sunset, secure in the knowledge that actions have consequences and that sometimes the good guys actually win. 3 weeks later, I was standing in the courthouse lobby, watching Lara sign the divorce papers that would officially end our marriage. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of everything that had happened. Her designer clothes had been replaced by a simple dress from Target, her confidence replaced by nervous glances and trembling hands. "That's it then," said Jim Patterson, collecting the signed documents. "Divorce will be final in 30 days. Lara nodded without speaking. She'd barely said a word during the entire proceeding, just signed where she was told and answered the judge's questions with quiet, "Yes, Your Honor" responses. "The house, the business, the retirement accounts, all yours," Jim continued, speaking to me. "She gets her personal belongings and whatever's left in her checking account after restitution payments." Which wasn't much. Between the country club theft, the company embezzlement, and legal fees, Lara was essentially broke. She'd taken a job at a diner in Portland, serving coffee and scrambled eggs to truckers and shift workers, a far cry from her corporate PR position. "Any questions?" Jim asked. "Just one," I said, looking at Lara. "When are you leaving town?" "Tomorrow," she said quietly. "I found an apartment in Seattle. Cheap place, but it's far enough away." "Good. That's probably best for everyone." She looked like she wanted to say something else, maybe apologize or explain or beg for forgiveness. But what was the point? We both knew it was too late for any of that. Outside the courthouse, I found Casey waiting by my truck, practically bouncing with excitement. "So? How did it go?" she asked. "It's done. Officially over." "How do you feel?" "Relieved, mostly. Ready to move on." "What about Lara? She looked pretty rough in there." I shrugged. "She made her choices. Now she gets to live with them." Casey nodded approvingly. "You know what everyone's saying about you, right?" "I can imagine. They're saying you handled this like a real man. No violence, no drama, just cold, calculated justice. It's actually kind of impressive." "Justice," I repeated. "Yeah, I guess that's what it was." That afternoon, I drove out to the construction site where my crew was framing a new house. It felt good to get back to normal work, to focus on building something instead of tearing things down. Marty was waiting with the daily progress report and a cup of coffee. "Heard the divorce went through," he said. "This morning, it's official." "How do you feel about it?" "Like I can finally breathe again." "Good. You deserve better than what she put you through." We spent the next hour going over blueprints and scheduling, talking about normal things like lumber deliveries and electrical inspections. It was exactly what I needed: routine, productive work that had nothing to do with cheating wives or revenge plots. My phone rang around 3 p.m., unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Portland. "Ben?" It's Lara. I considered hanging up, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want?" I wanted to say goodbye, and to tell you I'm sorry." "Are you?" "Yes, I know you don't believe me, but I am. I'm sorry for cheating, I'm sorry for lying, I'm sorry for everything." "Okay. That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say, Lara?" "That I forgive you? That we can be friends? That I hope things work out for you?" "I don't know, maybe." "Well, I don't forgive you. We can't be friends. And honestly, I don't much care how things work out for you." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "I deserve that," she said finally. "Yes, you did. Ben, do you think I'll ever be able to come back? Not to you, but to town? To have a normal life again?" I thought about that. In a small town, reputation was everything. Once you were branded as a cheater, a thief, a liar, that brand tended to stick. People had long memories and longer tongues. "Probably not," I said honestly. "This isn't the kind of thing people forget." "I know, I had to ask." "Lara?" "Yeah?" "Don't call me again. Don't write, don't text, don't send messages through mutual friends. We're done, completely done." "I understand. I hope you do." I hung up and went back to work, But the call had stirred up feelings I thought I'd put behind me. Not love, that was long dead. Not even anger anymore. Just a kind of sad recognition of how completely she'd destroyed her own life. That evening, I stopped by Murphy's bar for a beer and found myself at the center of attention. Word of the divorce had spread quickly, and it seemed like half the town wanted to buy me a drink and tell me how well I'd handled the situation. "You showed real class," said Pete Morrison, a local electrician I'd worked with on several jobs. "A lot of guys would have just beat the shit out of the boyfriend and called it even." "Violence doesn't solve anything," I replied. "Besides, this way was more effective." "Damn right it was. That boy Troy's looking at 2 years in state prison. Your ex-wife's broke and disgraced, and you come out of it looking like a hero." "I don't know about hero." "I do. You stood up for yourself like a man. You made them pay for what they did. That's heroic in my book." Similar conversations happened throughout the evening. Men shaking my hand, women telling me I deserved better, everyone agreeing that justice had been served. By closing time, I'd heard the story retold so many times it had taken on an almost mythical quality. Ben Carrick, the contractor who destroyed his cheating wife and her boyfriend without throwing a single punch. Ben Carrick, the man who proved that brains beat brawn every time. Ben Carrick, the guy who showed everyone in town what real revenge looked like. I drove home feeling oddly empty. The validation was nice, the support was appreciated, but it didn't fill the hole that 3 years of marriage had left behind. Winning felt good, but it wasn't the same as being happy. At home, I found old man Barlow sitting on my front porch again, nursing a beer and watching the street. "Heard you're officially single now," he said. "As of this morning." "How's it feel?" "Lonely," I admitted, "but better than being married to a cheater. Loneliness is temporary, self-respect is permanent." "Is that your professional opinion, Dr. Barlow?" "That's my lived experience. I was married to a cheater once, long time ago. Forgave her, took her back, tried to make it work. What happened? She cheated again, and again. Took me 3 times to learn that some people don't change. They just get better at hiding who they really are." He finished his beer and stood up. "You did the right thing, Ben. The hard thing, but the right thing. Thanks, that means a lot coming from you. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's a new day." After he left, I sat on the porch for a while, thinking about the last month. From discovering the affair to finalizing the divorce, it had been a whirlwind of emotions, decisions, and consequences. But now it was over, really over, and I could start thinking about what came next. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey. "Heard Laura called you today." What did she want? I texted back to say goodbye and to apologize. "Did you accept her apology?" "No." "Good. Some things can't be apologized away." She was right. Some betrayals were too deep, too calculated, too cruel to be forgiven. Laura hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a series of deliberate choices, each one designed to hurt and humiliate me. The only reason she was sorry now was because she'd gotten caught and faced consequences. That wasn't real remorse, that was just self-pity. The next morning, I woke up to find a moving truck parked in front of the house across the street. New neighbors, apparently. A young couple with a baby, loading boxes and furniture with the help of friends and family. I walked over to introduce myself. "Welcome to the neighborhood," I said to the husband, a guy about my age wearing a college t-shirt and work gloves. "I'm Ben Carrick." "Mike Stevens," he replied, shaking my hand. "This is my wife Sarah and our daughter Emma. Nice to meet you all. If you need anything, recommendations for contractors, electricians, that kind of thing, just let me know. I've lived here for 5 years." "Actually, we might need a contractor soon," Sarah said. "The kitchen needs some updating, and there's a bathroom upstairs that's practically falling apart. I'd be happy to take a look. Here's my card." We chatted for a few more minutes about the neighborhood, local schools, the best places to shop. Normal conversation with normal people living normal lives. It felt good. As I was walking back to my house, Mike called after me. "Hey, Ben, aren't you the guy who... we heard about what happened with your ex-wife. That was really something." News travels fast around here. People are saying you handled it perfectly, like a real professional. I smiled. I just did what needed to be done. Well, for what it's worth, I think you're a hell of a man. Takes real character to handle betrayal like that. Thanks, I appreciate that. Back in my house, I made coffee and sat in my leather chair, looking out at the street. The moving truck was gone, replaced by Mike's Honda and Sarah's minivan. Normal cars for a normal family starting a normal life. Maybe that's what I needed, to get back to normal. To stop being the guy who destroyed his cheating wife and start being just Ben Carrick again. Contractor, neighbor, friend. My phone rang. Jim Patterson. Ben, I've got some news about Troy. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. He took a plea deal. 2 years in state prison, 3 years probation, permanent restraining order against you. What about the breaking and entering charges? Dropped in exchange for the guilty plea on the drug charges. Prosecutor figured 2 years was enough justice. And what do you think? I think it's appropriate. He's a young guy, first serious offense, and he'll be a registered felon for the rest of his life. That's punishment enough. Okay, I can live with that. Good. Oh, and Ben? This is really over now. No more court dates, no more legal proceedings, no more looking over your shoulder. You can move on with your life. After Jim hung up, I sat in my chair for a long time, thinking about what moving on actually meant. For weeks, I'd been focused on revenge, on making Laura and Troy pay for what they'd done to me. It had consumed my thoughts, driven my actions, defined my identity. But now it was finished. Laura was gone, Troy was in prison, and I was alone in my house with nothing but memories and an empty future. The revenge had been perfect, calculated, devastating, completely effective. But revenge, I was learning, was like sugar. It tasted good going down, but it didn't provide any real nourishment. What I needed now wasn't more revenge. What I needed was a reason to get up in the morning that had nothing to do with punishing people who'd wronged me. I needed a life. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah across the street. Thanks for the welcome. Mike and I were wondering if you'd like to come over for dinner tomorrow night. Nothing fancy, just burgers on the grill and getting to know the neighbors. I stared at the text for a long moment, then typed back, I'd love to. What time? 6 o'clock. And Ben, feel free to bring someone if you're seeing anyone. Just me these days, but thanks for the invitation. Perfect, see you tomorrow. I set down the phone and smiled for the first time in weeks. Not the cold, calculating smile I'd worn while destroying my enemies, but a real smile. A hopeful smile. Tomorrow night, I'd have dinner with normal people who saw me as a neighbor, not as the guy who'd gotten revenge on his cheating wife. Tomorrow night, I'd start the process of becoming Ben Carrick again, instead of just the hero of someone else's cautionary tale. The revenge was over. Justice had been served. Laura and Troy had paid the price for their betrayal. Now it was time to start living again. I raised my coffee mug in a toast to the empty room. Here's to new beginnings, I said out loud, and to neighbors who invite you to dinner. Outside, I could hear Mike and Sarah laughing as they unpacked boxes, building their new life one room at a time. Soon, I'd be part of that life, not as the neighborhood legend, but just as Ben. And that sounded pretty good to me.